way men build men. Be all you can. Cause we building over here. You heard me? Huh? Iron sharpens iron, and I say men build men. One who builds up they brother, not tear down they kin. Giving hope to the youth and show them how to be men. All that child's play over, this way men build men. We uplift, we inspire, this way men build men. Be a man that kids admire, give a helping hand.
This is Inline Conversations with Men. Myself, Chuck D.
Vince.
Spike. Now we guest DeWayne, but we gonna get to DeWayne in a minute, right? But it's just a little something that I want to say before opening up, man. Like, I'm first and foremost, I'm happy that we back because last week we had our meeting, on Zoom, and I mean it was cool that Vince and I we were missing my brother Spike, but now the three of us are back in here today, man. And it's good to see y'all. But I have something that's been on my mind before starting, man, and like this past week, if I may say, man, the devil's been tempting me just with my job, just different things that, you know, like we said from our first podcast, that that there's going to be some things that happen that maybe deter us from doing what's right. And the last week I was on my way to church, that a brother confronted me, jumped out the car on me. And now, when he jumped out of the car on me, what would I do? Should I react to what he was doing, or should I stand by about what we talk about in here? And then with the job, different things like that. And for, you know, guys, y'all know that I'm an open book. I've talked about my marriage. I've talked about other things that happen in my life. But you know what? Now, man, I think today is just the new starting point for Inline Conversation with Men. And for me, I'm just excited for the new thing that's going to be happening, and I'm going to be the person that God has called me to be. I'm going to be boisterous, iron sharper than iron, like we always talk about. I'm going to be, I want to be accountable to both of the brothers, to DeWayne, and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. So there's sometimes that time y'all going to say, hey Chuck, you wrong. Pull my coattail and let me know what it is. But I'm going to do the same for y'all. And like I always say, I usually end up saying at the end of our conversation that I care, I love you guys, but I'm going to say it right now, that's what it is for me. I care about both of you brothers. I want to see all of us reach the full potential as men, how God would have us to go. So with that being said, this is Brother DeWayne. DeWayne, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Man, first of all, man, I want to give my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise for the salvation of my soul, man, and the forgiveness of my many, many sins, man. Like you said, I'm DeWayne Richmond, man. I wanted to come on here, man. Chuck invited me. I met Chuck one day. I was out in Grand Prairie, and he came to me and was telling me a little bit about what goes on here, man. And man, I worked real hard at surrounding myself around men, people that are going to hold me accountable. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because without that, man, it's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? It's inevitable. The fall is inevitable if you don't have nobody that's going to hold you accountable. Not just a bunch of yes men and all of this here, man. So
and we've talked about that before too. I think Spike and I mentioned in one of our last conversations, if you just have a bunch of yes men that's telling you, yeah, do that, and they know that you're doing wrong,
yeah.
we can't. Now is not the time for that. We're supposed to stand firm on what we believe and say, hey, bro, no, we're not gonna do it that way. Well, sorry, D, go ahead.
No, you're good, man. The Bible says when I was a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You know what I'm saying? And we need more men, black men. I'm a black man, I'm gonna speak on it, you know what I'm saying? More black men coming together and holding each other accountable, man. One of my, I ain't gonna say downfalls, but things that got me to going through, suffering some consequences that I've been having to deal with. was I heard you saying on, I think it was the first one that y'all done about decision making, man. And I really believe, man, that as men, as black men, man, fathers, man, we really have to be careful on the decision, on the lifestyle that we glorify. You know what I'm saying? And because we got people watching, man. There's always somebody watching, man. When you make a decision to be a father, man, you should already have made up in your mind that I'm gonna make a decision to stand on the truth, and that's the word of God, man. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. And bringing kids in the world, and you standing on a lie, and you living a lie. That's not gonna be nothing to reflect on them. You know what I'm saying? So, and one of my testimony, man, just.
Well, before you go to your testimony, tell us about your job.
Okay, yeah, man, I do remodeling, man. Sheetrock, tape and bed, texture, you name it, man. From anywhere inside of the house, I do minor plumbing, minor electrical, ceiling fans, stuff like that, man. And I've been doing it for quite some time. Man.
So you're an outside man like me. This heat ain't really bothering you.
No.
Like somebody in here was talking about, he walked outside,
hey,
you know, to go check the mail. You know?
Yeah, I'm always in the house.
But believe it or not, that's how we met. So we had a gas station out in Arlington, and so me being on my, I had my little dress shirt on or whatever, trying to do some real estate that day, and I handed the brother a card. And so we started talking, and I just said, man, you know what? I'm in the real estate, and he told me what he does. Then I said, man, you know what's crazy? My brother-in-law, he does pools, right? So, and then just if the collab, just think about it, we can all do that type of business. We got a video guy right here that can put all that stuff together and make a nice little cake for us.
Yes, sir.
But then it got a little bit more heated between us because we started finding out a little bit more about one another. Okay, D, go ahead, man. Look, I get so hyped. Go ahead.
Testimony.
But I guess, like, for me, I think for me, what drew me to him, of course, the work. I mean, you know, the work part of it. But then once he shared his testimony to me, I just said, this is something that maybe need to be on inline conversation. So inline conversation with men, what happens is it's transferable. And our main purpose is to, of course, business, the youth, whatever the case may be, but it's to sharpen other people. Yeah. Your testimony, if you bring one person in, that one person can bring 3 people in. That 3 people can bring 10 people. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it needed to be heard. So I think that's why the fellas and I got together and decided that it would be good for you to come out and share your testimony. So at that point, you know, just go ahead. If it's okay with you guys, for him at this point to go ahead and share it.
Man, just like I was saying a minute ago about decision making, man. Growing up, man, I made some decisions that I was gonna be out in the streets and hang out, sell drugs, carry guns, and all this type of stuff here. And I was saying about how the children are watching this here and growing up. My daughter, she seen me in that lifestyle, man. And when she got old enough to get up, man, she wanted to be like her daddy. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of played a part. Like, she had a right, she could make her own decisions, but I do feel that it played a major part in her decision making because of the lifestyle that I glorified, man. And it led to her. In September, she was shot, man. She got shot in the head, and we was at the hospital, man, and her brain was swelling, so they had to cut part of her skull out, man, to release the pressure off her brain. And the doctor came out of the surgery room, man, and was like, man, the surgery was a success, but we ain't expecting her to make it. And I'm like, man, so I'm up there, I stayed up there with my daughter, man. I'm up there, I'm praying, man. I'm believing God just, man, to do work a miracle, man, not to take my baby. And 3 days later, man, 3 days, the nurse came in. Every day she was coming in there, man, and she was shining the light in my baby's eyes, man, and her pupils wasn't dilating. So she came in there and she told me, sir, I'm not trying to discourage you, I'm just trying to prepare you. And I'm like, man. She told me, I've never seen anybody stay in a coma this long and their pupils not respond to light and they come out of it. So, man, it shook me, man. It shook my faith. I mean, I'm in her praying, man. I'm like, man, God, well, come on now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I called my pastor, man. I'm like, hey, Pops, man, these people in here telling me my baby not going to make it, man. And he like, DeWayne, don't listen to that, man. Don't listen to that, man. He said, lay your hand on your baby's eyes and you start speaking in tongues. And me, I just being obedient, man, to what the man of God told me to do, man. I put my hand on my baby's eyes and I started speaking in tongues, man. And I heard the voice of God tell me, now go tell that nurse that your baby's eyes gonna respond to light tomorrow. And again, just being obedient to what I believe in my heart was the voice of God. I went and I told her, I said, tomorrow my baby's eyes gonna respond to light. And she came there the next morning, man, and she shined the light in my baby's eyes, and her eyes died, her pupils dilated, man. And at that time that I was going through what I was going through, man, I was selfishly thinking, man, that, you know, this was for me, and and when God do something, it ain't never just for you. You know, it ain't never just for me. You know what I'm saying? It's always for somebody else, man. And I thought about it, man. I'm like, if it increased my faith, just imagine what it done to that nurse faith who never seen nothing like that happen. You know what I'm saying? Well, just imagine what it done in that situation.
Turned her into a believer.
Yeah, amen. And man, I'm thankful to sit here and tell y'all, man, about a month ago, man, I took my baby girl swimming, man.
Oh man, that is a blessing.
I took her swimming, man. I got to see her in the swimming pool, man, and that was such a relief to me, man, just to see her out there, man, just functioning. And once they was telling me she wasn't gonna make it, wasn't no hope, wasn't nothing else they could do. But when man say no, man, you don't have the final word, man. I put my faith in God, was obedient to. If you want to see a miracle, be obedient to the word of God, be obedient to the man of God, and follow your convictions, man. Mm-hmm. And you will see a miracle, man.
Amen.
I think a lot of times, man, even from back in the day, that was it was always, miracles only happened back then.
Yeah.
You know, as far as he with the loaves of bread and the 5 fish, you know what I'm saying? People only seen those type of miracles, but now you have a witness or a testimony.
Hold up. This thing didn't stop on us. Let's try this again. Did he sell us a gold card? I'm gonna let it go for a few seconds to see if it stops.
It stopped recording. We still got the record on there too,
Yeah.
so yeah, we're good.
Okay, keep on.
Okay, well, we have that testimony now. Then guess what? Or we even a vision to see that there's true miracles and stuff and those things that still happen in today's time.
Yes.
So, man, like honestly, we talked about it before. I mean, I know I did. Like just to hear that from you, man, is like awakening inside of my own self. Not just because the tears are flowing. I mean, I do maybe have 1 or 2 right here, but it's meaningful to me. So if we do things the right way, God will still show up. And I think a lot of times, even with this conversation, I know people might say, now they're talking about God. But if anything, man, like I don't want to be the person that's afraid to talk about different things. And if it's and first and foremost, especially for God, I want to put Him first in everything that we do. Because if it's just about the podcast or if it's not about touching spirits or touching people, what's the true purpose of? Because of course it's for all of us to grow. It's for everybody to grow. But that situation which you went through, like you said, DeWayne, it was for you to go through. But what it's going to do is going to grab somebody else. It was for you to go through because God knew you can handle it. But it's going to be for you to give away. So right now, that's what you're doing, giving it away.
But I want to ask you a question about something about the situation. Something about what we're, you know, this session is about. You know, gun violence. You know, was the shooting of your daughter? I know it was gun violence, but what was the situation surrounding for that to happen? If you can speak on that.
Well, from my understanding, it was her boyfriend, and another guy. And her boyfriend and the other guy was getting into it, and I guess they started wrestling over the gun and wound up shooting my daughter in the head.
So it was a fight situation, something like that, and
Yeah.
gun prevailed, and they, you know, doing whatever. And she, and majority of the time, you know, we hear about these things. It's always an innocent victim that's surrounded or whatever that, you know, gets the brunt of whatever's going on. You know what I mean? Whether it's death, whether it's shot, whether it's whatever. What are your thoughts on? But coming through this, because I can't even imagine any of my kid. When my daughter was born, she was in NICU, and that was one of the terriblest moments of my life. You know what I mean? Just seeing her and telling them different things. So take us through the mind process of what you were thinking, even when you first received that phone call.
Man, when I first got the call that my daughter had been shot, I was at the house, I was putting in a tile floor. And they called me and told me about it, and I'm like, oh man, she might got shot in the leg. You know what I'm saying? That was my worst, my worst thinking was that she got shot in the leg, man. But to come to find out that she had got shot in the head, man, that floored me, man. It floored me. And I was speechless, you know what I'm saying? When I got there, man, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I'm just by myself, man. I'm like, man, what's going on, man? And I'm pretty sure you can imagine a lot of emotions was running through me, man. Hate, revenge. As a father, man, and something like that to happen, man, you know what I'm saying? Man, it's crazy, man. The thoughts that I was having, man. And I'm gonna share this too, man. In the midst of all of this stuff here, man, I got a lot of people that I know from the streets, from, you know what I'm saying, all this type of stuff here, and I'm getting all kind of crazy calls, man.
Oh yeah, let's go get them.
Yeah.
Let's go get them. Let's do
Come
it.
on, man.
You can't ride. You gotta ride on, bro.
I got an uncle, man. He's hip in the game, man.
Right,
and he called me and said, hey, nephew, we ain't finna let that ride. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
do you mind telling me what area you from in the Dallas area?
Pleasant Grove, man.
Pleasant Grove.
Pleasant
So
Grove.
is that Oak Cliff or is that something?
Right by.
Yeah. So it's yeah.
It's Pleasant Grove.
Ain't nothing pleasant about the Grove.
I was about to say,
Ain't nothing pleasant about the
I was about to say.
Right.
But like I was about getting all of these calls and everything, man, and I'm gearing myself up, even after the fact that God had healed her and brought her back, because I wasn't finna go nowhere until my baby eyes open. Even after the fact that God had done this, now on my mind somewhere, because when God moved, the devil moved, I promise you.
That's right.
So now I got my mind right now, okay, all these phone calls, my partner called me, let's do this. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm all for it, because again, I done let hatred and anger and bitterness and all this stuff here, all these different emotions come about, man. And man, again, I heard the voice of God, man, and he said, oh, you bad now. So when you couldn't do nothing for her, you was in here on your knees crying and praying. When you couldn't do nothing for her, it said, now you bad. Now you want to take matters into your own hand again.
Right.
So I just threw my hands up. I called my uncle. I said, uncle, I can't do nothing, man.
Right.
I can't do nothing, man.
Right.
I mean, God in control, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I told him about everything, everything that happened with her opening up. I mean, her people's dilating, my testimony about that. I told him about that, man. And my uncle is, you know what I'm saying?
No nonsense.
For real, bro.
Yeah.
And so he like, that's deep, nephew. I respect that. You know what I'm saying? So, and that took a lot of weight off of me. You know what I'm saying? So, and so I give it to God, man. And there's still a lot of healing that needs to be done, man.
Well, is there always going to be some healing? You know?
Exactly. With my daughter, there's still some healing that needs to be done. And I'm giving it to God, man.
You said you took her swimming too, though, right?
I took her swimming about a month ago, man. So,
yeah.
How old
that
is
was healing. She's 23.
She's 23 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a deep testimony there, man. You know, I couldn't imagine, going through something like that, and experiencing that, and, you know, to piggyback off of, you know, Vince's question, you know, if any advice you would give, you know, either a grieving parent or a parent that, you know, may have been through something, you got a great testimony. What would you say that would be something that they can hold dear to their heart? In any event they may go through that, or they may be going through something else that's traumatic, what would you tell them, being that you have this testimony and it's grace from God. So that's mercy from God.
Mhm.
What would you tell them that they can carry on to their heart, that they can hold on to?
Man, I know I keep referring back to God, and that's the truth, man.
See, 'cause let me tell you
Truth
something.
and life.
Before you answer that, let me tell you something. When you talk about, I knew you were going to refer back to God. And everything. I already knew it. But for the people who've been through something like that, and it didn't turn out good,
Mm-hmm.
that now have that, man, what God doing? If God's supposed to be, you know, whatever, who do what he is, why I got to go through all this? I mean, I don't want to go way back here, but you know, if God was there, why we were slaves?
Yeah.
You know, if God, why we do this? Why we got all this gun violence? Why we doing? Why all these people dying around us? Why are the graveyards full?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just being a little bit of devil advocate because I knew you were gonna go there. And so what I'm saying is again, what would you tell those people? Not just in a godly term, but real life reality. You know what I mean? Not saying that God ain't reality, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand, man. That's the answer that I got, man. I mean, my mom growing up, when I would go through real life situations, you know what I'm saying? And my dad passed away when I was 5 years old, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going through real life situations, gangs and all this stuff, the neighborhood I came up in, and I'm dealing with all these situations. And every time I would take them to my mom and try to get her input on them, she would always say, well, son, the word of God say. What the word of God say. And one day I told her, I said, look, Mama, don't tell me nothing about what the word of God say.
We all
you know what I'm saying? Don't tell me nothing about what the word of God say. What did you do in this situation? You know what I'm saying? What did you do in this situation? She said, DeWayne, I love you. And what I did in that situation was the wrong thing. So I'm not going to tell you nothing wrong. So I'm going to tell you what I know to be the truth, what I know to be right. I'm going to tell you what the word of God say. And that's what I grew up on. And when my kids called me, and I heard what you're saying, bro, about, man, the life and death is in God's hands. Man. You know what I'm saying? And we got to learn how to deal with the decisions God make. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's to have my daughter here or to take my daughter on, I would have to live with that decision. You know what I'm saying? And not allow my heart to get hard and bitter towards him. You know what I'm saying? So.
Also in the Bible it says that when it rained on the just and the unjust. So a lot of times, even though you might go through something and you come out of it like DeWayne and the other people it might not go that way for them. But what I've done, just a little bit, I because I know he was going to be on here, I did a little.
We got notes.
I
know, right? You got prepared. I feel like an illegitimate podcast.
I took it because of you. I decided to take like just a little notes, and it's about gun control. Of course, here recently we've had like 3 major incidents that happened behind gun control. The one in California, right?
One here in Texas.
The one here in Texas, and the one in Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah.
New York.
New York, right?
Where was the other one at? Chicago.
Chicago was the recent one.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Well, Highland Park, actually. Highland Park area.
And those 3 incidents, all about guns, and concealed weapons have killed more than COVID-19. And it said that the president right now is calling for a redress on everything that's as far as the gun control. When if my mind tell me from back in the day, we've been suffering from gun control since back in the day. There's so many things that happened with gun control that we didn't have, we don't have no control over. They're in our homes, they're in our society, and some of it maybe being planted in.
Yeah.
But that's not my conversation. My conversation is this: that there's 17 million black men in America, and 30 of us die every day. Now, I know most people will get online and try to argument. I'm just telling you what I pulled up as far as my research. And then it said from the 30 people that's being killed, more than 110% are fatal injuries. And out of the 110%, 68% of those are affected directly or indirectly. So either you know somebody or somebody that they know have been affected by that. Now, just so happened, I've never had no one in my family as far as gun violence. But now my brother, I meet him indirectly, but you have. So what can we do to control it? Because if there's no, what's the true solution?
Well, I just want not control. I don't know.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts on? What's your thoughts on
gun rights? Gun
rights
control,
after you've been in this certain
laws.
situation now in your life? Because you said you used to tote, you used to do the thing, you all this and all that. So at one point in your life you was okay with it.
Yes.
Now you've been through this and been a victim of it. What's your thoughts on it?
Man, right now today it's so easy to get a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You really don't need no rights or nothing like that. You can go down to the corner store and get a gun.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm
You got
saying?
one time?
So,
Do I have one? Oh, yeah.
My house full of them. There's one in every room. Literally. It's that serious.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's so easy to get one, man. And I don't know the exact law on them right now. I mean,
Right.
but I mean, something has to be done, man. As far as just these teenagers. I mean, every teenager you see, man, they got packing, man. You know what I'm saying? And they're not even responsible. You know what I mean? To
And the time has changed since we grew up. Right now, I mean, back in the day, it was about more.
I'll
more-
knuckle up with you.
Yeah, more hand combat.
Yeah,
As
that's
far as you
all.
know, and then we like we said on one of the podcasts that we'll get into war
And
with
be
our
right back cool.
friends
Shoot
tomorrow.
some
Dust each other off.
Shoot
Yeah.
marbles,
You
you
good?
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or come knock on the door.
I think the conversation of gun control, gun laws, gun this is all politics.
It is political.
Because I don't think you can actually control
No.
the
Exactly.
gun sales. There's too many guns on the street that you know, you like you said, you can go to the corner store
Yeah.
and buy a gun right now. How you gonna control that?
Yeah.
You know, they got laws in there where you can go to trade shows
Yep.
and you know get whatever gun you want, and they got to even go through that little background check thing because it's the trading of guns and stuff. You know what I mean? So I think that there's some things that are in place that are maybe okay, but it's not gonna stop the violence, you know what I mean, that's going on because anybody can have access. They're talking about, you know, this, you gotta be 18, 21 to get an AK or whatever, you know, the semi, that ain't gonna stop you.
And to add on to it, right? Like I have a license to carry. I can carry concealed. I can carry open. Only place I can't go into is like bars and stuff like that, right?
And they gotta have a sign on
You
there.
got
that
the sign. You have a sign on
Yeah,
there. You
yeah.
can't walk in even if you have a license.
Right.
When you look at majority of the states that have these serious strict gun laws, like for example, New York, California, Chicago, Detroit, or I would say Michigan. Those 4 states alone have the highest rates in gun violence. And they have the most strictest laws, especially California and New York. New York right now, I think they just passed a law in the bill that if you are a licensed gun owner, you have to give up your social media stuff, you have to go through these rigorous background checks. And just to piggyback off what Vince says, it doesn't matter how many laws you pass. You're not going to stop the average criminal from obtaining an AR-15 or a 223 or 9mm. And again, to piggyback off him, from a political standpoint, most of these politicians, they don't understand the difference between what an AR-15 is, a 223. They don't understand what a carbine is. They don't understand that actually the majority of the murders that happen are done with handguns. They're not done with assault rifles. An assault rifle is a political term. It really is just a rifle, you know. So I think safety is one of the things that could be implemented. I think when you go buy a gun, you should go through a class. You should be licensed to carry. You shouldn't be able to literally go in and just buy a gun willy-willy and go. I think some type of training needs to happen, some type of certificate needs to take place, because that's what they took me through in Michigan. Their gun laws are strict, and they take you go to the gun board, you practically is interviewed and you can't say to protect myself. You know, you can't say, hey, I want to be able to protect myself. I'm a law-abiding citizen. When you understand what that Constitution is, and when you read that Second Amendment, the gun board can't deny that, especially if you have no criminal background. And I went through a federal background check. Like when I bought 3 guns in one day, and I couldn't walk out the building because I had to pass a federal background check. And just from experience, I had caught, I wasn't convicted, but I got arrested. I had my license suspended. Those are some of the caveats that will deny you. So I think, to piggyback off him, yes, it's political, but I think from a solution standpoint, I think some type of certificate of safety, some type of annual renewal of the certificate will make the access for the law-abiding citizen easy. As far as the criminals, I don't think we can stop that. I don't think.
Man, you just said it, man. The laws and all of that stuff, that's only affecting the law-abiding
Citizen, yeah.
The people that we really ain't too much worried about going out killing nobody. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff, that's what they're affecting. People are getting murdered with guns that unregistered guns. You know what I'm saying?
Ghost guns.
Exactly.
They just bust some guys in Detroit. They were making ghost guns. Because you can, an AR-15 costs, fully loaded, fully kitted out, $2,000, maybe $1,500. You can buy the pieces individually and put together your own, not your gun, but your own combination of things that you want. And I agree, you know, not to cut you off, that's who's gonna suffer the most.
Yeah.
Let me say about something that it'll bring it around to me in my thoughts of what we are doing here today. You know, iron sharpens iron. You know, men, holding men accountable, different things like that. When I was growing up, I couldn't do things in my mama's house that she didn't know about. Wasn't no closing the doors. Wasn't no none of this and wasn't no none of that. Now we've gotten away from fathers and mothers being in households to control and run those households. There is no way a child in my house is gonna have, I ain't gonna say no way. It's gonna be hard for a child in my house to have drugs in my house and guns and different things.
Yeah.
Because I'm going in and going through drawers periodically.
Looking around,
seeing what you're doing there. You know what I mean? All that type
Well,
of
you got
stuff.
the door closed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All that type of stuff. So it's everything to me starts at home.
Yep.
Charity begins at home.
And spreads abroad.
Yeah. So all this got to be taught at home. You know that parents. Oh, I didn't know. What you mean? You didn't know?
Do you think
Why
that?
didn't know?
Yeah. Do you think that, to add on to what you were saying when you said starts at home, because a lot of parents now, they're career oriented. They want to provide the best living for their kids, but they're not providing the lessons like we were talking about in our very first podcast. The lessons. I know 2-parent households. They didn't know half the shit that the kids were doing. So.
Well, with the exception to you,
What?
because you stay at home and work, right?
Yeah, I'm at home.
Okay.
I'm in the crib.
Well, most of, like, I go out and work. She goes out and work. Same like manner for you. So, like, but if there was an older kid, see, in today's time, especially with the way things are right now,
Yes.
gas prices. We walked out of Walmart the other day with 2 bags. Little gray bags. It was like $130
Yeah.
with 2 bags. So everybody working.
Yeah.
Everybody getting it. So, but back at the house, it's not saying that the kids are going undone, but we don't have, because back in the day, grandmother and them, they used
We
to
had me, mom.
yeah, they used to stay at the house and kind of in control, but now the kids are not raising themselves, but they have opportunity to do things that we didn't have a chance to do. And like Vince was saying, sometimes even with that, you might turn a blind eye to it because I don't want my kids to be raised or come up the way with that harsh.
That iron fist that they call it, you know.
Yeah, because right now we want them to have their own identity. We want them,
you know, yeah.
When we take that away, you taking something firm for them to stand on. You let them just be the person that they are without you having control. Because like Vince said, ain't no way in the world my son could have got away with some of the stuff that, you know. No.
They're doing.
Before we go too far into this and get too far away from something, I wanted to ask you about forgiveness. I want to ask you about forgiveness for the people who were responsible. Not going into what they're, because we talked about God, we talked about all these different things. And we talked about people riding on whatever happened. And I don't know their court case and I don't know what happened with that, and I don't even really care about that. How did you forgive, or did you forgive the people that were responsible for what happened to your daughter?
Man, I'm working on it, man. To be honest with you, I mean, I don't know what I would do. To be honest with you, if this dude was standing in front of me right now, I don't know how I would react.
Right. That's an honest opinion.
I don't know how I would react. So, have I truly forgiven? I don't know, man. I don't know if I truly forgive. I know I'm working past it, and that's all I can give you right now, man. I'm working past it, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get there, man. Because like, again, if that dude was standing in front of me right now, I don't know if I put my hands around his neck or what, man.
Right.
But I'm working past it. I'm trying to get my daughter. She got a lot of anger and hatred built up in her about the situation, man.
But she's okay. She's not. I know she got some residual stuff, and we hadn't talked about that, but I'm just talking about she was shot in the head, right? So I know she has some residual things that come with that.
Yeah.
But she's okay, you know, basically, right?
Yeah, I'm sure her right side still got some little mobility that needs to come back, and but as far as her thinking, she kind of talk slower than before.
Right.
But right now,
good.
I mean, from 6 months ago, 7 months ago to now, I mean, it's a 100%.
So this happened recently?
In
Within
September.
He said September.
This year?
September.
I mean, last year?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I was thinking this was, you know, some years ago and different things like that, whatever.
September. That's why I say I can't tell you I wouldn't wrap my
he
hand
said,
around this dude's neck if I seen it right now.
Right.
This is still fresh.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
See, that's. I got a call probably 2 or 3 years ago about my niece. Something happened to my niece.
Yeah.
You know, with her boyfriend. She ended up didn't make it. You know, and that was the first person that ever, I would say, passed away in my life. Ever. That I really truly knew. And I'm 50. You know what I mean? So, and that was my niece, and I felt a whole lot some type of way.
Yeah.
And it was domestic violence stuff, and he's in prison. You know, I don't think he had a court date, but it's been almost a year or 2 years ago. So I can understand, you know, how you feel as far as your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I just wanted to talk about that. You know, because that question was in my head, but we went toward gun control, different things like that, and I didn't want to, you know, step in on that. And I just wanted to know how you feel on that. But I didn't know it was 6 months ago.
Man, being a father, man, and something like that happening to your daughter, I mean, it's the difference between a daughter and a son. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But being a father and having your daughter go through something like, man, that took a lot out of me. Took a lot out of me, man.
Have it made you more protective of her?
Definitely that, man. And more, I mean, we talk, man, before all of this happened, man, I rarely talk to my daughter, man. Now we talk 4 or 5 times a day. You know what I'm saying? So it's giving us a bond, it's giving us a new love for one another, man. A new respect for one another, man. She tell me all the time, Dad, I love you. I love you. See, I don't know what I would do without you right now.
Have you apologized? And let me go here. I know we all, and let's apologize. I have a hard time doing it too. Because you said if I remember correctly, that you thought that your daughter was trying to get with somebody that was like her dad.
Yeah.
And by that thinking, put her in the situation that she's in. Have you ever thought about talking to her about that? Or maybe, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? On that thinking?
Yes, I have. But this was when she was before the incident and all this type of stuff. And I would explain to her that, look, Daddy made some bad decisions. I mean, I lived a lifestyle that wasn't right, and this and that. And I've talked to her and talked to her, man. But how many of y'all know that once you got the car going up to 80, 90 miles an hour, it's hard to stop that joke. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to slow that
Oh, yeah.
down.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
in route. You in route.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
feelings and all that involved and everything.
Exactly.
So it's hard to turn around from that lifestyle of what you even used to. You know what I mean? If you like, just go here. There's a certain type of woman or man. Let's go with woman. There's a certain type of woman that likes a thug, as they call it, or a drug dealer mentality, as they call it, whatever. So overnight, she ain't gonna turn into liking the businessman.
The
square.
Yeah.
L7.
L7.
Right. So even though you
The
have
computer
and then she's 23, 22, you know, around that age to where very influential, different things going on in this world today, even the podcast stuff, the TikTok stuff, and all that. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just, you know, and y'all relationship is a lot better. I'm glad she's doing
it is,
better.
man. It is, man.
What about your sons? You have kids?
I got all girls, man.
Oh, wow.
Did you?
Four.
So was you
You was a bad, bro.
Was you a player?
That's what that is.
The only time, you know, because my man's, he got all girls. And he was a player. He was a ladies man.
They say he was in the street now.
He was in the streets.
Look, everything in Pleasant or ain't pleasant, but.
Right, but.
Yeah, man. I mean, I had my share of, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We all been through that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but I got 4 girls, man, and it's my God. I was in the store with my 2 oldest daughters one day, man, and this older gentleman seen me say, "Man, them your daughters?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, them my babies, man." He's like, "You gonna be taking care of them the rest of your life." And it deemed to be true, man. So
Right.
I've been, yeah. But man. I'm thankful, man, for even in the midst of the tragedy, man. I'm thankful for what God is doing, man, in our relationship.
And he tests a lot of us sometimes, and he puts things on us to see how we come out of them, how we. I look at it as a trusting of him and what he's gonna do, you know, because I don't trust man, period. You know, on no level. Not saying I don't trust the brothers that's in here, but man, my study of man is that anyone can change. Anyone can, at a drop of a dime, something can go wrong or change. So I think sometimes God puts us in scenarios to see, will we curse him? Because there's several stories in the Bible where men have had the riches of riches. And when they lose it all, somehow they go through what they go through. I think it was David, right? He lost all of it. Job lost it all. And people was telling him, you should curse him. You should curse God.
His wife was telling him,
you should curse him. He took everything from us. And he kept his faith and he ended up getting everything back to him. So I think when we look at things like this, it's a teachable moment.
Well, man, it was crazy. You know, I hear you saying that, Spike, but if my mind tell me this, which that was one of them, right, with Job. Yeah. And then another one was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Yeah. When all 3 of them was thrown in the fiery furnace, right? Just think about this. When they threw them in, the dudes that threw them in got burned.
Yeah, they did.
They were burned.
Yeah.
But right here today, they say, well, 2 or 3, and we've been talking about God the whole time. So where 2 or 3 are gathered, he's in the presence anyway. Amen. So that's what, I mean, bruh, like for me, man, I listen. I like sitting back and listening. But this when I met Brother DeWayne, this was something dear to me. Like when he told me, just like, you know how something when I met it just like drew me, like, man, you went through that. But like Vince said, man, I didn't know it was like, I thought it had happened, but this just happened. It's fresh.
Yeah, when he said September and he didn't put a date on it, I immediately think, okay, this guy's fresh.
So, like, for me, man, like, I have the utmost respect for you, bro.
Me
and
too.
for you to even say, I don't know if the dude was standing in front of me.
I don't know what I would do.
I don't know what I would do. Because you don't know what you would do until faced with that.
Exactly.
Like, and it brings me to what happened to me last Sunday on my way to church. On my way to church, which was a great word that I would pass to preach. But on my way to church, this dude cut me off.
Oh, nice.
Cut me off on the freeway, and then got out and took his cap off. And my hand was on the handle to open up the door to get out and confront this brother on the highway. And then it came to me. Now, what you gonna do? You going to church, and I'm talking about to make a right turn into the church parking lot. Now, what are you gonna do? And when I walked in, that's what the service was about.
I was just gonna say the service
Wow.
was about exactly.
That's
Service was about reactions and responses to
Spike.
things that happen to you.
That's what the service was about. But the crazy part for me was, and I don't want to say crazy, but the pastor was singing a song. And the song was Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And on my way to church, when the dude pulled me over, that's what was playing in the car.
That was a divine
Big bro,
moment right there.
That one was playing in the car when the dude
was
pulled me over. Wow. So when the brother pastor started singing, man, you got to understand what kind of position I was in. So to hear your story and to know what you went through, honestly, not just see it and know that God, guess what? He's going to have the last word.
Yes. Yeah. That's it, man.
Man, I'm happy you came on, bro, to share your story.
I'm happy to be here, man.
Same here,
I'm
man.
happy.
I appreciate it, man.
We're gonna cross. I shake hand afterwards.
So
yeah. You know, I still wanna pry a little bit. You know, into your feelings. You know what I mean? As far as I just can't imagine it, man. You know. So, and I ain't gonna say in closing because I don't want to close out anything. Do you have any words for people that are in your same predicament, that's been through this gun violence thing, that's been through some type of, because there's a lot, it happens a lot. You know, you gave us some statistics on things or whatever. There's a lot of cities, Dallas being one, that your area being one, you know, Chicago being another one, you know, there's hoods everywhere.
There's pockets.
Back where I'm from, Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Man, I saw a video the other day, a guy was talking about, or whatever, you know, it was a, you know, little TikTok crazy thing, or whatever. Come to Jackson. Oh, no. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't come here. You know what I mean? Just making fun of what's going on. You know, TikTok, people trying to get views and all that type of thing. But I just, what's your greatest takeaway from this that happened to you? What do you think God was telling you? If you ever thought about that.
He got the last say so, man. Man, I was out yesterday and doing the fundraiser for the church thing, man. And I ran into this dude, and he got a couple of breads from him, and he left. And I'm not thinking nothing else about it, man. He was gone for about 15, 20 minutes. And he came back. He said, man, I didn't know if you had nothing to eat or not, so I brought you something to eat and I brought you something to drink, man.
Wow.
I'm like, man, I appreciate it. He said, man, God told me to tell you, man, that he sees you, man, and he's watching over you. I'm like, wow.
So he does speak through people.
Most definitely. He ain't finna crack the skull and stick his head out and speak to you.
Yeah, but he's gonna
I ain't
speak
know if he
through
is.
people.
I ain't never seen it done.
Right. You know, that's something to get on me all the time. I hear people talking about, man, God spoke to me last night. I'm saying, man, I ain't never heard God speak. Just me. Yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe it's in a different form of thinking and reality, different things like that. But when people say that, I just go in my head, hey, what am I missing? I ain't never heard it.
Hey.
You know what I mean?
I know very seldom does God speak to people back in the Bible days. But God said that we would do greater things, and you know what I'm saying? We would do greater things. So, and my gathering all this together, He's gonna have to speak to me more.
Right.
For me to do something greater, He's gonna have to speak more to me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm gonna say this, man. Like, God spoke to Noah one time.
Mm-hmm.
Once.
He did.
Built an ark.
Mm-hmm.
Told him what to do, and that they were gonna come in. And after all of this was done, he never spoke to him again.
Mm-mm.
If you go through the Bible and read,
Mm-hmm.
he never spoke to him again. He spoke to him one time. But do you know how God speaks about Noah? He was a righteous man,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, God know your heart already.
Yeah.
So, but the work that you put in, people are drawn to that. So, when he spoke to you and told you to do what you did for to do with, pray for your daughter,
Yeah.
that was it right there. And then the result, guess what? Other people are going to be drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, they're going to be drawn to you, Tiny. They're going to be drawn to you, Spike, just from the word. So whenever you do hear that word, he might not never speak to you again.
Yeah.
He might never say nothing. But your actions are direct reflect of what he have, the promises that he have for you.
Mm-hmm.
Man, let me share this real quick, man.
Why you smiling so much, man?
Because I'm excited, man. I'm excited. We're gonna talk about God. I get excited.
Get that feeling, man.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna share this with y'all, brothers, man. One morning, man, I was up. I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. I would pray and I would work out. And this particular morning here, I'm in prayer and I heard it say, "This is no longer your life that you're living, but I'm living my life through you." And I heard it. I'm like, so I went on about my day.
Hold up. Remember we talked about God and you never spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
So how I am speaking to you right now, is that what you're telling me that you heard?
I heard it.
Okay, just carry on. I just wanted to make
He
sure
said,
clarify
"This is
that.
no longer your life that you're living, but I'm living my life through you." And I'm like, what the? So I get up and I go on about my day, and I was in Dallas when this happened. We went to Tyler, Texas this day,
Mm-hmm.
and was working out there, man. And I'm in front of Brooks. I got down to like 2 or 3 breads left, and I'm sitting out on the bench in front of Brooks, and people coming out, "Hey man, you want to make a donation to my church, man?" Yeah. This old white man came out the store, man. And I said, "Hey man, you want to make a donation to my church?" And he came over there and he sat down beside me, bro. And we started talking, man. We talked about 45, 50 minutes, man. And in our conversation, a lot of stuff that I had been praying about and asking God about, this man God was answering stuff through him. And in this conversation, man, this man said, "Man, this is no longer your life you're living, but Christ is living his life through you." And when that man said that, I got chills all over my body, man. I knew I was in the perfect will of God. The perfect will of God for that to happen like that. I knew I was right where God wanted me to be, doing what God wanted me to do, man. Right then and there, man. And that when y'all start talking about God talking, I just had to.
So everything is in the
I
power.
knew that was God speaking to me, man. So,
Man, I want to say this before I forget. Inline conversation with men, like I said at the beginning, is about to take off and go somewhere totally different. I really believe it. I really believe that with everything I stand on.
Yeah.
And I think for me, man, not just because of you, DeWayne, coming on here, it's because of the other brothers that's here. And people going to hear us. And not only, it's not the fact that they're going to see something different in you, Spike. They're going to see something different in Time. They're going to see something different in me. DeWayne, they already see something different in you. But man, honestly, it's going to take off. And the reason why it's going to take off is because of the word that we're going to stand on. We're not just going to talk, the online conversation is just not going to be about conversations like this. We're going to talk about others. We're going to talk about other things, sports. We're going to talk about relationships like we already have. just different things that we're going to touch, and it's going to draw other men in. And I'm happy. Like I always say, man, I'm happy that you're on here today to share your word. Of course, this is my brother-in-law. This is my friend Spike. I'm excited.
I think we should throw in there. I thought about this the first time we did the podcast, and I didn't know if it was sufficient, but I think it's sufficient. I think we should have an honorary prayer before, or some type of, pick something from the Bible from that day when we end our show, and we can implement it in the next episode. We can talk about it.
No, we ain't got to implement it. I got it.
So we will just leave the audience with something. Because when I go to church, you know what I'm saying, and when I do find that home to accept me, that's what I look forward to. What words we can leave people with, being that we're taking off. We want to leave the audience with something that's going to resonate with them for the rest of the week, or for the rest of the month, or to the next video. So I think we should, be a good idea to implement.
I think even right now, man, like honestly, I think the perfect thing would be, don't hide the person that you are.
Yeah, be you.
So in that verse it says, don't put your candle underneath a bushel, but put it up on a candlestick.
Yeah.
So what that's saying is, don't be in here, and we can talk about it in here.
Do it
all
out
the
there.
good things, because right here we safe.
Yeah.
But put your light up on a candlestick so it'll bring light to all that. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, to glorify your Father which is in heaven. Your word today, guess what? It glorified God, because guess what? We put God first in it. The things that we talk about right here in our podcast, even though it could be about sports or whatever the case may be, we put Him first. He said, seek ye first the kingdom, and all things, not some, but all things gonna be added.
Yeah.
So, I think Tanya said it from the beginning. It's going to be a different type of podcast. It's going to be different.
We should be able to touch a piece of the world somewhere, because I believe someone out there always has it worse than you.
Oh yeah.
Always. And whatever we share with them, just this testimony. Today's title should be my testimony. This is a testimony. You went through a traumatic event. Like you said, still more work to do. You're working on yourself. You're working on your daughter, getting things back in order. You're a work in progress. This right here can touch somebody that's going through that same. Because those are demons. When you're thinking about revenge, envy, strife, those are demonic thoughts. Those are, because again, revenge, from the, and I had to teach my wife this, Today we lost our son 6 years ago on a motorcycle. Somebody ran him off the road. And I had to bring her back down, like, hey, you can't curse the person that did that.
No.
You can be upset, take your time. Don't curse God though. Like, so this episode is a pretty special one to me. Like I said, I go back and watch them just like we all do. And I think this one's going to hit so much. It's going to hit different, as the young kids say. It's going to hit different.
Mm-hmm.
Because to go through what you went through, man, I'm not going to lie. My wife me and her just got out of the whole, not saying we cursed God, but we never wanted to step back into a church ever. I went through something when I had, a pastor. I asked the pastor to pray for me. I was losing my sister. He didn't offer no prayer and none of that. And it made me feel some type of way, like, man, why would God do that? Why would he I'm coming to this man for prayer, but for you to come and share your testimony and say, hey, I kept my faith 100%, not halfway, not the fact that I needed him at this time. I honestly believed in my heart he was going to deliver my daughter back to me. Not only that, but sane and with minor adjustments that she has to make. So, man, I got to give you your kudos, man, and say the strength that God is bringing you through is amazing. And I think this show would help someone that's been in the same scenario you in and who's been on the other side of that fence. I've never been in a funeral home before, the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go down there, never been in there. James Cole is one of the famous funeral homes in Detroit. And my wife, she knows the owner. And they did our son's work. And going down there, it was eerie. And to watch how these people move out throughout the day, and this is their daily due diligence. And yes, he was my stepson, because I don't believe in the word step, but he was my son, but not biologically, he was my son. I actually halfway raised him, but to see that emotionally, this show is going to help somebody to be able to say, hey, look, I know you're going through this, but give your heart to God. And that's what you did. You confessed your heart to God. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you believed in your heart, not just in your mind and what your lips said. You believed in your heart that, hey, he's going to deliver me from this. He's going to deliver my daughter back to me.
Man, the real kudos, in my opinion, man, go to God first and to my pastor, man, Pastor Anthony D. Anderson, man. Because if it wasn't for him, man, I don't know where I would be right now, man. I don't know where I would be right now. Because like I said, when she came and told me that, man, my faith was shook. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what the best part about it is, though, D? Not to cut you off, big bro. But the best part about it was this. You had double things working.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor said, guess what? Go lay hands on your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse had already gave you a bad word saying that I'm not trying to tell you nothing, but I just want you to be ready.
Yeah.
But do you realize how much you even helped the nurse out?
Exactly.
You probably had her go home.
Because you helped the nurse out to even be a better believer. Because guess what? When the next time she comes into that situation, the next time she's in that situation, she's going to be able to say, you know what? Maybe you should pray.
Mm-hmm.
What she said to me, I've never seen anybody stand in coma this long. She can't never say that again.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? She can't never say that
What
again.
I wanted to get at is a couple of things. Spike brought up something about a pastor that didn't do what he was supposed to do, that you felt. You know,
Yeah, I was at my lowest point.
Right, and the pastor didn't do what he was supposed to do. You brought up something about a pastor that basically did what the world would think the church and the pastor is supposed to do. And I don't want to go in a certain way because I know some pastors or whatever. And by me knowing some pastors, and believe me when I say I know some pastors, and this is not no whatever, because ain't no pedestal to be on by what I'm saying. I can call them, we can have conversations. I know their life, I know whatever. And not just my current pastor, but I'm talking about pastors in Louisiana, pastors in Florida, places I stayed. Every church that I try to go to and be a member of, I get to know the pastor, because I want to know the man that's preaching to me and different things. And what I'll say to that is that there's good and bad of everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know a pastor right now who's probably going through something that we four have never even thought about going through. None of us never went through what he's going through. But you can call him right now, and he ain't even thinking about that. He overjoyed at what you're calling him, what you're talking about, and fulfilling you for what you're going through. And me, I'm in my head, I know what he's going through. And I'm like, I don't even want to stress you out like that, because I know what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that, and I don't curse the pastor or God because the pastor weren't who he was supposed to be, because he is man also.
He is still man.
He is going through, a lot of people put God in the pastor. And God ain't in the pastor.
No, he's supposed to speak through him.
You know what I mean?
And continue, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying,
he's supposed
to speak through him, but there's some imposters in everything.
Yes. Like
you know what I mean? So we can't all the time sit there and just, because this man or woman has a big following.
Or he's sweating up
Okay,
there.
so like I was telling you earlier, big bro, this, you put this wherever you want to put it. Like I told you earlier, I believe, and most pastors will probably tell you, because if you go to church, everybody think the pastor's there. Have you ever been in a situation like this where the pastor of your church don't show up and the church is empty because everybody looking towards him?
Yep.
Okay, but he'll tell you that, DeWayne, you can win more souls to Christ than he can, because everybody goes to church with the expectation of the pastor giving them the word to deliver them from whatever. When in actuality, your testimony can win way more souls because people know you. You done went through already. But what you go through personally, like we said in one of the, what you go through personally is for you to go through. But then you got to give it away. So when you give it away, those people that you're giving it to, just like that nurse, or just like your daughter, it's going to be a testimony that somebody else going to grab hold to. And the pastor, he's up there preaching the word, which he draws souls to. But you personally, you can touch way more souls than he can.
And you got to also, too, as a believer, my grandmother told me, you have to eat the word. You're supposed to eat the word.
Study to show yourself approved.
Yes, sir. Again, my past life, I was supposed to be behind the pulpit. That was I was ordained to be. But things happen. So, but yeah.
Too late.
No, it ain't. And like I was telling Vince on the last two podcasts, my journey since I've been in Texas was the number one priority when I got here was to find a church home. That was the number one priority. Now, before my wife got sick, all that was the number one priority, because again, God will speak to you through the people, and He will eventually call you back. I've been praying over my wife. I've been praying over every business I touch. I've been praying over the people I touch with. Chuck, Vinny, I'm calling you Vinny now. Vinny and Tiny, that's the new name. Yeah. But I've been praying over people I come into contact with, and I've just been letting things just fall where they go. God's gonna bring me through anything, and I've learned since I've been here. Actually, I've been in Texas a year this year, today.
Really?
Today is a year.
Yes, okay.
Today is a year. We picked up and drove 20 hours.
Yeah.
But this is a great podcast today. Do y'all guys think this was the best? Well, I won't say the best. That's
it's different, and I love the fact of where we went with bringing somebody on, get a different opinion, and hearing your story, to bring your story to help other people, because we're on here to help each other and help other people through our conversation they might be going through. So I love the fact that you were able to come on, and I don't want to. Do you want to say anything? Because I wanted to let you kind of close out this segment, because we got a viewer question.
I heard we got
a viewer
nice,
question.
Interesting
But I don't want to stop right before we go there.
I think, I like to answer your question, Spike, as far as it being the best. I just think all of them fit right back to back with each other.
They have their own best, because I don't want
to. From our first one on Father's Day, right? Yeah. We did one, and it was
what your fathers taught you. What did you learn from your fathers?
And how has it helped you become the man that you are today? Yeah. Then the next one, how to control your emotions as men, right? Yeah. And then the one with the Zoom call. It's all about men. Yeah. So, but now DeWayne comes on here today, and he takes it to a different level. Yeah. So all of them it's not I don't even think it's a favorite. No. We even grew from each one.
And there's a progression in each one. And just to piggyback off that, to have a guest on the show to share their real life experience, because you can never get nothing better than a little real life experience.
Right.
To hear his story, to hear his testimony, and what he went through, it shows the progression. And I'm with you. I think about,
So with all due respect to DeWayne, guess what? Next week, better.
Yeah. It's.
You have any closings?
Man, I'm just agree with what you're saying, man. God, he's always moving, man. Always moving. You know what I'm saying? Always moving. And there has to be a constant growth. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with y'all, man. It's gonna get better, man. I speak it. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna keep getting better, Mm-hmm. And man, the thing I wanna stress, man, but me coming over here and saying God as many times as I say it, don't mean I'm perfect at all. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Don't mean that I think myself more higher than
Holier than
everybody. You know
thou.
what I'm saying? When I go home, I put on the wings and a halo, and I go floating around the house. No, that's
Wait, hold up.
not
Y'all didn't see the feet. Do the feet again.
I go to floating around the house. No, that's not it, man. I have things that I have issues
Well,
with.
thank you for this too.
Amen.
And also, you know, you're definitely a man of craftsman, right? You're a
Oh yeah,
craftsman, right?
yes sir. Yes,
You
sir.
know, we definitely like to shine light on, men and their businesses. You know, is there places that we can find you, like, Instagram or a website?
I do have an internet page, Charles D. Richmond. You can go on there. And I just built a reception desk over at the men's home. Man. You can check that out. Some painting that I've done. I built a gazebo out in the backyard in Azle. A lot of stuff, man. I got
Really?
Mhm.
Like, okay. Well,
Yeah, I got some.
Yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
of that, I mean, we got some. We just had some yard work done, and damn, that's woo. They say there's a lot of money. But anywho, my wife is having a dream of some things back there, so I'm definitely gonna be tapping in with you.
Okay.
I could give my money to other people, but I like to spend with my people, especially if the work's good. And you definitely come with. How my boy back home say, I do my work with love. You know what I'm saying? So I'll definitely be tapping in. But yeah, we need to, we're definitely going to show light to you. I'm going to go do my due diligence, add this link, in the description, and that way we can, showcase our brothers that's doing
So that's your logo? Is there any kind of way you can send us that logo?
This is the logo of the ministry.
That's the ministry logo.
The
Okay.
ministry logo,
You-
yeah.
okay.
Living Word Harvest.
Yeah, we'll get all that information.
Yeah, we'll
put
get
it,
that.
post everything.
And we'll showcase
All
that.
right,
And,
Reaching, teaching, mending, and sending. Reaching the lost, teaching about the life-changing power of Jesus Christ, and mending them back with their families, and sending them out to take the land.
man, that's amazing.
Okay, I like that.
Wow.
Same concept, basically. I love that.
Look at
Man,
that.
look how things work, man.
What? Divine Order is a